What's the relationship between self-love and success? So the first thing I'd love to present for you is this. When you really want something that is really going to make your life better, something that's going to make you feel like you've achieved something that's going to really make you feel fulfilled. This could be love. This could be joy. This could be a new job. This could be a sense of fulfillment in doing something that's meaningful. This could be your first million or your first $1 million or your first million women or people that you've impacted. All of those things are things that would probably give you excitement, joy, a feeling of satisfaction, and really feeling like you're on top of the world. Awesome. Now, if you at some level, and you may not even be conscious of this, so this is where it gets really sneaky, are lacking in self-love, do not feel that you are worthy, do not feel that you deserve, feel that in order to receive what you desire, you need to work really hard to obtain it. What you will do is you will manufacture situations that keep sabotaging you. It could be plain small. It could be even physical tiredness and illness. It could be as soon as you start feeling really close to someone, you find a quarrel, you find a fight to pick with them. It could be that as soon as you're achieving that ideal weight and size, you find a way to break your diet, to break your discipline, and eat. So one major thing I have found with the many high-achieving women I've worked with is that there's a high level of confidence and intelligence in knowing that you've got this. Great. The ability to do and achieve, to take action is there. Good for you. However, what is not necessarily supporting that is a high level of self-love and self-worth. And unfortunately, if we really do not feel worthy and we do not feel loved, deserving of love, then we will overcompensate with the action and the doing. You've all heard the expression, be, do, have. Have is pretty clear. What is it that you want? Is it in your life or is it not? If it's still a dream, you don't have it yet. Many people get that. Do. You're probably one of those people who's an action taker. You understand what it means to take action. You're not going to sit in your bed and wait and meditate all day and expect things to happen. Great. However, there is such a thing as action that's aligned with your vision of what you want to have. And there's action that's actually taking you away from that. If your action is underpinned by not loving yourself to feel that you deserve that, and that could come to you easily, or even if it does come to you, you find some way to get it out of your space because it's almost like hot coal in your hands. You feel almost sinful or shameful that you have it. How could you have it? Who are you to have it? How dare you have so much? This may not even be your voices. This may be the voices of other people who at some level have said to you, you are not enough. Who do you think you are? Why are you so happy? Why should you have so much? Everybody else doesn't have that, etc., etc. And this is where, as adults, we have the duty, we have the obligation to reparent ourselves. And we're not doing this because we love psychoanalysis and all of this. No. If you do not reparent yourself, if you do not understand what the saboteurs are, and at that level see and shift so that you can now begin to really understand that you are loved, you are the prize. If you are not able to move away from the illusion of being alone, this illusion that you are unworthy of being supported by the whole of the universe, then you will only go so far. The bigger your dreams, the bigger it is important for you to really feel loved. Because when you are loved, even when things don't go well, you know that you are worthy. You understand at a very deep level that your level of self-worth, your lovability is not a function of your results. No matter whether those results are extraordinary or they're really nothing to write home about, you know you are loved. And from that level of feeling loved and knowing that your worth is absolutely unaffected by what's happening on the day, you begin to walk into rooms differently. You begin to show up, to learn, to understand, to experience, as opposed to having to win at all costs, because losing, failing, means that you are not enough. And when our ego feels that it is threatened, because that's ego talk, then it's either do or die, right? And in the end, it is not, because your true essence, your true self, cannot possibly die. It's eternal. And operating from that, you come to the table already worthy. You no longer hustle for worthiness. This is something I had to learn myself. I used to absolutely, at a deep level, believe that if I didn't work for it, I wouldn't get it. I had to be perfect. It wasn't only a question of doing it, but doing it right. And I felt that by doing this, then I would get love, respect, admiration, recognition. And yes, I got some of that. But what I do know now for sure is nobody loves what you do. You are loved or you are not. And the best way to guarantee that you are loved is to love yourself. You cannot place on somebody else's shoulders the responsibility of loving you. That responsibility is yours and yours alone. And the responsibility of feeling loved is also yours. Because no matter how much love we as humans get, our capacity to perceive it is what really makes the difference. The love is always there. So, if you truly want to be immensely successful, it is not about waiting for success to happen to give yourself love. It's about stepping into inner self-love and self-worth, inner deservedness, so that that dream, that desire can come into your life. And I do not mean that kind of love that is soft with yourself. No. I'm talking about the kind of love that says, what is it that is best for me? Do I get to get up early in the morning? Do I get to avoid certain foods for my health? Do I get to say no to all those potential relationships because they're basically snack bites? They're not the main meal. Do I get to say no to that particular client? Because yes, it'll be nice to have the money, but that client absolutely gives me no joy to work with. That's just basically frustration guaranteed. So self-love takes discipline. It takes commitment. However, when we step into that power to say yes or no, based on a very high level of appreciation for ourselves, then we teach the world how to love us. If you really want success, and this is feedback I'm getting from the many high-achieving women I am working with, then it starts with self-love. If you do not have self-love and you have a lot of confidence and you're going out and getting it, what will happen is at some point, things will collapse like a pack of cards. So whatever you do, find a way to love yourself. Eat in the best way possible. Exercise in the best way possible. Stop foods that are poisoning your body. This physical body of us, if we have a physical body and it's filled with toxins, then we're holding on to that low vibration. Find a way to cleanse. That is an act of self-love. Find a way to really tune into your relationships and heal at that level. Forgiveness of others and of self is an act of self-love. Find a way to be grateful. Gratitude is an act of self-love. Find a way to focus on your desires, not on your fears. That is an act of self-love. All of these things I have mentioned, forgiveness, gratitude, focusing on what you desire instead of the other things, eating well, moving well, sleeping enough. They're acts of self-love because when you think good thoughts, when you let go of things that have been holding you down, when you eat well, you nourish your body, when you give it enough exercise, then you're treating yourself with regard. And this puts you in the best position to show up with your A game. It's impossible to show up with your A game if you're super tired, brain fog because your hormones are all over the place, you haven't had enough to eat, so there's no glucose to anyway for the brain to function. These things become much more difficult. So the discipline of putting in place those things that support your body, your mind, your emotional stability, and even your spiritual connection, these are acts of self-love. It may not come easy to you. It is, however, absolutely worth it. And more than that, you are worth it. Find one thing you can start with. The other day I decided I was going to do a liver cleanse. And it's not easy. For 9 days, no oil, no salts, no additives, no sugar, none of those things. I am used to eating those things, at least having some olive oil in my food. And at each meal, I am faced with a realization I have a choice. I can choose to go back to the usual and say it doesn't really matter. Or I can say, I love myself and I love my liver enough to make this sacrifice, to make this act of saying, I don't need to have this comfort and this pleasure right now, because what's important is a vibrantly healthy body. And that comes through my liver. It could be liver, it could be anything else. But where in your life are you finding shortcuts as opposed to saying, I want this in its entirety? Integrity is an act of self-love. Being your word is an act of self-love. Where is it that you're not telling yourself the truth? Where is it that you're saying things and you're not really fulfilling them? When you say something and you don't achieve it, you're telling your subconscious mind, you're not reliable, you're not responsible. Now, saying that to anyone, nobody wants to hear that. When you tell yourself that, it's so much more deep. So having impeccable words is an act of self-love. There's so many ways of loving ourselves. And I would say the greatest form of loving yourself is truly understanding that you are a spiritual being living a human experience. And because of that, you get to be really spiritually aware. How are your actions every day impacting on your spiritual ascent? It's not all about the hustle and all about the temporary pleasure. How are your values? How are your actions taking you towards your goal, your spiritual goal? So a spiritual practice is an act of self-love. My invitation to you right now is whatever it is that you truly want and it's not in your life, write it down. And then I want you to write down how you would feel when that thing has already come to pass. It is done. Write that down and really feel it as it's happening. And then I want you to step back and ask yourself, do I feel worthy of this? Do I love myself enough to give me this? Think of a parent and a child. The child wants something, and sometimes the parent makes a lot of sacrifice to give the child that thing. Why? Because you love your child. You don't say, oh, I can't be bothered. Oh, it's too expensive. You find a way. Think about how many parents have worked several jobs because they wanted to invest in their children's education to give them a better life than theirs. It's the same thing. If there is something you really want, paying the price is an act of self-love. So what price are you prepared to pay to get what you really want? So be on the frequency of self-love so that you can take the actions that are aligned with your vision. And then you will have that big life, that big goal. It will come to pass for you. I'd love to connect. If you have any questions at all, this is a really big one. We can go deep. There's so many ways of loving yourself. Choose one, choose two, choose three today. Self-love is a muscle. It gets to be built. Love and light.